Hello and welcome to The Book Thing. My name is Mark, and today I am continuing my reread of the Discworld series with Small Gods. So, Small Gods is the 13th book in the Discworld series and is Terry Pratchett's take on religion, which is brave of him. It opens in the land of Omnia, which is a fundamentalist theocratic nation run by the priests of the god and the country is aggressively expansionist, where they are constantly invading and conquering their neighbours in order to spread the religion of The most feared part of the church is the Quisition, which is an analogue of the Spanish Inquisition, and that is led by what is expected to be the newest and eighth prophet of the Omnian religion, Vorbis, who is this calculating, cruel, cold monster. The main character of the story is Brutha. That's going to be so much easier if I write on the screen what I'm saying there. Who is a novice in the Omnian priesthood. He's generally perceived to be quite dim, but in actual fact has got a mind like a vice and can remember pretty much anything he's ever seen or heard. As a result, he has got an encyclopedic knowledge of all of the texts of the Omnian religion. Brutha finds a tortoise in the garden, which turns out to be the earthly manifestation of his god Now, as part of the expansion of the country of Omnia and the church, Vorbis takes Brutha, and by extension the tortoise with him to the country of Ephebi, which is a country of philosophers and thinkers and scientists, and is kind of like an analogue of ancient Greece. Supposed to be a diplomatic mission, but in actual fact it is the precursor to Vorbis' plan to invade Ephebi, which is then going to set him up nicely as the person who's named as the next prophet of All of these things are kind of happening in the background. The main drive of the story is actually the relationship between Brutha and is a tortoise because he tried to manifest himself in an earthly form, but all he had the power to be able to achieve was to make himself into a tortoise. Brutha is the only one who can hear him. None of his other followers can hear him at all. And it's not really a spoiler, but it does happen a bit later in the book. But essentially, the issue with gods in the Discworld is that they feed on and they get their power on belief. And as it transpires, the only person who actually believes in out of the whole of the Omnian Church is Brutha. Everyone else is just going along with all the ceremonies out of habit or because they have fear of the Quisition. As I said, this is very much a satire of organised religion, and it is, in that regard, it is absolutely hilarious. So you have got things like the Omnian religion considers the world to be round, and for anyone to suggest that it is disc-shaped and on the back of a giant turtle, that is considered to be heresy and blasphemy. But again, all of these different rules and practices have come from these earlier prophets of the god And when Brutha actually questions the god about these prophets and about the teachings, at best doesn't really remember them, and at worst kind of thinks that most of these prophets made this stuff up themselves. The characters in this are glorious. Vorbis is actually really quite scary. Brutha is really quite sincere, and what that manages to do is it means that while Pratchett is able to satirize the religious institutions as a whole, it never feels like he's belittling anyone for actually following a religion, because the sincerity and the desire to do good that Brutha, the only true believer, has is really quite respectful. As the angry tortoise is absolutely phenomenal. He is constantly trying to smite his non-believers and anyone who gives him even the slightest bit of disrespect, which is kind of everyone because he's just a tortoise, and but because of his lack of power, he's just able to scream abuse and try to bring down fire and brimstone and lightning on people, but it just doesn't do anything. And seeing someone who in their own head is a mighty god but is actually just a petulant tortoise is pretty hilarious. When they get to Ephobe as well, there's also the character of Didactylos, who is a philosopher, but in a country where philosophy is the stock and trade of just about everyone, philosophy is just another trade, and Didactylos treats philosophy in much the same way that a carpenter would treat timber. It's a fantastic book. A lot of the time when Pratchett is doing books that are based on a core idea, sometimes the plot and the story and the characters to an extent can suffer. Not in the case of Small Gods, even though there is a very specific idea that he is confronting in this. The characters are some of the best, especially for a standalone where we never have seen them before and don't get to see them develop beyond this. It is really, really funny. The plot is extremely satisfying. The characters are fantastic. The core satire at the heart of this is pitch perfect. All in all, this is absolutely a 5-star book. I'd actually forgotten just how much I enjoyed Small Gods until I reread it this year, and it is definitely one of the best Discworld books that I have read this year so far. So that was my review of Small Gods. If you liked it, please consider hitting the like button. The next book I will be reviewing is Lords and Ladies, which is a return to the witches. If you'd like to see that, please consider hitting the subscribe button. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching and take care.